Welcome, and thank you for joining me once again on this gentle journey through the quiet echoes of the past. Tonight, we travel east to the cobbled streets and lantern-lit alleys of Byzantium, also known in its full imperial splendor as Constantinople. This is not the Roman world of marching legions or grand arenas. This is a world of simmering stews, incense smoke, and mosaic halls. A place where ancient tongues blend with the scent of cinnamon and wine, where empires whisper behind silk curtains, and lives unfold in the flicker of torchlight. You won't find yourself among the nobles tonight, at least not at first. Instead, we begin our journey in the warm and grimy shadows of a Byzantine tavern, the kind of place where wine is poured from cracked clay jugs and laughter collides with caution, a place not of legends, but of survival. We'll all move then to the dazzling heights of imperial power, tracing the rise and dramatic rule of Emperor Justinian and his formidable wife, Theodora. From there, we'll explore what lay hidden within the city's most sacred place, Hagia Sophia, its vanished icons and covered secrets. And finally, we'll step into the private garden of a Byzantine patrician, where quiet wealth flows through ritual, reputation, and subtle power. So let your breath slow. Let the dim light of history unfold gently around you. And together, let us walk into the evening hum of Constantinople. Imagine the air is thick, not just with warmth, but with scent, spilled wine, charred meat, the tongue of sweat and sweet herbs crushed beneath hurried feet. You're standing at the threshold of a Byzantine tavern, a capelion, as it might have been called, nestled somewhere near the docks of Constantinople. It is early evening, and the day's heat has not yet faded. Outside, the city pulses. You hear distant bells, barked orders, the clatter of hooves on cobbles. But inside, the world narrows. The door swings open with a push. It sticks slightly, swollen from the sea air. And at once, you're greeted by a wave of noise, low conversation, clinking cups, the scrape of wooden stools. There are no menus, no polished counters, only rough tables, oil lamps guttering, and smoke curling up toward a blackened ceiling. You find a seat, if you're lucky, a stool without a back. The wood is worn smooth. Generations have shifted nervously here. The cup is ceramic, mismatched. The wine within is diluted, as was custom, but also slightly sour, a mix of old stock and whatever was cheapest that week. It is flavored, faintly, with resin or herbs to mask the taste. Before you can ask, a boy places a jug on the table. You drink carefully. Around you are sailors, apprentices, off-duty guards. Perhaps a scholar or a clerk, eyes lowered. Perhaps a foreign trader trying to blend in. The tavern is a crossroads, not of geography, but of class. A rare place where words mix freely, in Greek, Latin, Armenian, and other tongues that echo faintly over the hum. The food, if you order it, is simple. Lentils, pickled vegetables, salted fish, curled slightly at the edges. Bread that is hard on the crust, but warm within, if it's fresh. But this is not a place for luxury. This is a place for release, for information, and sometimes for trouble. Fights begin easily here, over debts, pride, or spilled drink. There is no formal bouncer. Just the innkeeper's gaze, sharp and practiced. If things escalate, a city guard may be summoned, but not quickly. And until then, the tavern itself absorbs the mood. Tables slide, chairs scrape, voices rise, then fall again like a wave. The air grows hotter. Your back sticks to your tunic. The wine sits heavily in your stomach. There is no privacy here, only the illusion of being unnoticed. You might overhear a minor bureaucrat grumbling about taxes, or a merchant discussing grain shipments, or a rumor of plague upriver. Perhaps even whispers of something more, a bribe, a betrayal, a small truth that could grow sharp with time. And then the lamp above your head flickers low. The noise begins to fade, just a little. Not because the tavern is quieter, but because you are growing used to it. The sour smell, the closeness, the rhythm of the room. But this is only the beginning of your night. You still have to navigate your way back through the alleyways. Still need to keep your purse close. Still need to remember what you heard and what you should pretend not to have heard. Because in Constantinople, even taverns have ears. And even a single day in one can feel like a lifetime. Now that we've spent an evening among the city's common folk, where the wine is cheap and the secrets are not, let us move upward. Not far in distance, perhaps, but a world away in power and purpose. The walls grow cleaner, the air changes, replaced by polished stone, sandalwood, and quiet formality. Their names echo across centuries, not only for what they built, but for what they endured and what they nearly lost. But Constantinople still stands, proud and glittering, the beating heart of a reformed Roman dream. He is methodical, tireless, and deeply committed to the concept of order. His eyes, sharp beneath a heavy brow, are fixed on greatness. His ambitions are endless, but so are his problems. The scent of unwashed bodies and oil lamps fades. We are entering the world of Justinian I and Theodora, emperor and empress of Byzantium in the 6th century. Imagine the years 527 CE. The empire is vast, yet fraying. Rome in the west has already fallen. Justinian is a man of vision, determined to restore the former glory of Rome. He is not from noble stock. He rose from the provinces, Illyria, perhaps educated, groomed, chosen. And at his side stands someone even more unlikely, Theodora. He commissions the Corpus Juris Civilis, a legal code that will echo into modern jurisprudence. He sends generals, like Belisarius, to reclaim lands from the Vandals and Goths in the west. Crowds pour into the streets. Fires rage. Palaces burn. Officials are dragged and slain. The city trembles. Factions within the city, especially the famed blues and greens, the racing teams of the hippodrome, become political tools and tribal forces. What is clear is that she was sharp, articulate, and resolute. Together, they formed a partnership that was rare in imperial history, forged in ambition, tempered by trials. She is not merely his wife. She is his equal in presence, in counsel, in will. She began life on the stage, an actress, an entertainer, perhaps even a courtesan, though the records soften around the truth. Their reign is marked by construction and codification. Justinian oversees the building of Hagia Sophia, a marvel of architecture and sacred space. But the glint of gold hides the crack beneath. The people grow restless. Taxes rise. Military campaigns strain the treasury. And then, in 532 CE, the city erupts. The Nika riots begin as a quarrel over chariot racing. But beneath the cheers and curses lies deep resentment. Justinian almost flees. It is Theodora who stops him. Royalty is a fine burial shroud, she says, or so the chroniclers claim. It is merciless, streets empty. Bodies pile up faster than they can be buried. Even Justinian himself falls ill, though he recovers, weakened. If flight is the only choice, then I choose to remain where I am. Her resolve steadies him, and so he acts. Troops loyal to the crown surround the rioters in the hippodrome. The gates are shut. What follows is not swift justice, but a massacre. Thousands die. The revolt ends in silence. The city recovers, but barely. And worse is yet to come. In 541, the first wave of what would become known as the Plague of Justinian reaches the city, likely through grain shipments or rats hiding in sacks. The population shrinks, trade falters, and the dream of a restored Roman Empire begins to dim. Justinian rules until 565 CE, a long reign by any standard. But by the end, the treasury is drained. The lands once reclaimed begin to slip away again. And Theodora? She dies earlier, in 548, possibly of cancer. Justinian never remarries. History judges them both with complexity. Architects of grandeur, survivors of catastrophe. Rulers who left behind beauty, built on ashes. As you rest now, you may imagine them, not in their mosaics, stiff with gold leaf and divine halos, but in quieter moments. A candlelit chamber, a late conversation, two unlikely monarchs, facing the weight of an empire together. Now, let us pass through the smoke of riots, the scent of stone dust and plaster, and into a place of stillness. Hagia Sophia. Not a tavern, not a palace, but something between heaven and earth. A place where sound moves differently, where domes catch light like still water, and where the weight of centuries hums quietly behind every brick. Imagine yourself stepping across the threshold. The floor is smooth beneath your feet, worn by millions of steps. Cool air wraps around your shoulders, not cold, but deep, like the air in a cavern. The scent is a blend of stone, wax, and something faintly metallic, the memory of incense. Built under the orders of Emperor Justinian after the Nika riots destroyed the previous church, Hagia Sophia rose from ruin in less than 6 years, an astonishing feat for a structure of its size and beauty. The dome, vast, suspended almost impossibly, as if cradled by the heavens. The light pours in from arched windows like golden dust, and around you, mosaics, or rather, hints of mosaics. Some gleam in gold and azure. Others are dulled, half erased, the outlines barely visible beneath plaster. These are the icons, sacred images that once covered the walls and ceilings of Hagia Sophia. Portraits of Christ, the Virgin Mary, archangels, saints, and emperors themselves, presented not as rulers of men, but as servants of divine order. In the early centuries of Byzantine Christianity, icons were central to worship. They were not simply art, but spiritual windows, invitations to contemplation, presence, and reverence. But not everyone agreed. In the 8th and 9th centuries, a movement known as iconoclasm shook the empire. Some emperors, fearing that icons encouraged idolatry, ordered their destruction. Images were scraped from walls, faces were painted over. Entire scenes vanished. Imagine a quiet scaffolding inside Hagia Sophia. He chips slowly, respectfully, erasing the features of a saint once beloved. A worker, chisel in hand, ascending toward the apse. He is not a vandal. He has orders. The sound is soft, tap, 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 and then gone. Later, the policy is reversed. New icons are created. New mosaics shimmer into view. The walls once stripped become golden again. And still later, in 1453, Constantinople falls to the Ottomans. The city becomes Istanbul, and Hagia Sophia becomes a mosque. This change, too, is careful. The mosaics are not destroyed. They are covered. Plaster is applied. Curtains are hung. New calligraphy is added. Grand medallions with the names of Allah, the Prophet Muhammad, and the early caliphs brought back the gaze of Christ Pantocrator, the serene face of the Virgin Mary, and the jeweled robes of emperors long buried. For centuries, these icons slept beneath lime and dust, forgotten but not lost. It wasn't until the 20th century, when Hagia Sophia was converted into a museum, that many of them were gently uncovered again. Conservators, with soft brushes and small lights, even now, some mosaics remain hidden, preserved, or concealed, depending on how one sees it. Hagia Sophia has returned to use as a mosque, and once again, curtains hang over its Christian images, out of respect, out of policy, out of continuity. But they are still there, still waiting, still whispering. Each layer of Hagia Sophia tells a story, not just of faith, but of adaptation. Not of erasure, but of palimpsest, one meaning painted softly over another. And as you lie here now, listening, you may imagine yourself beneath that great dome, looking up at gold that glows like candlelight, at figures that once stirred prayers in Latin and now echo beneath Arabic verse, at walls that have known emperors, sultans, and curious visitors alike. In stone, it is not the changes that define Hagia Sophia. It is the silence beneath them, the deep, patient breath of history, held and released. Now, let us leave the grandeur of Hagia Sophia behind. Let the crowds fade. let the footsteps soften down a quieter path. A private world, let the great domes dissolve into sky, refinement and reputation, and turn to a home where empire is not waged in battle or built in marble, but expressed through ritual. It appears modest, a plain gate, a tiled roof, the occasional glimpse of flowering vine. We are entering the residence of a Byzantine patrician, a member of Constantinople's upper class. Imagine a high-walled compound just off one of the city's main arteries. The world opens. From the street, but beyond that gate, but with order. Flowering shrubs, a fig tree. The air is damp with morning mist and the faint scent of crushed mint. A central courtyard, paved in stone, yet formal. His hands, not merely for cleanliness, but for routine, for socialization, for continuity. The process is unhurried. Hot water, scraping of oil, cold rinse, then rest, lightly scented with rosewater. Prayers are said not in loud voice, but in whispers, repeated daily with slow precision. An arched colonnade lines its edge. Not loud debate, but measured exchange. Theology, literature, the latest imperial edicts. Occasional gossip, always phrased carefully. A small fountain trickles in the center, its sound a delicate thread of stillness. But he does not idle either. Wine is served, diluted with water. Dishes are modest but artfully prepared. Stuffed grape leaves, fish cooked in herbs, honey-drenched pastries. Lush plants grow here, herbs. You are greeted not with noise. Servants pass silently, the windows small and high. Birds, the patrician meets with scribes or clerks, managing landholdings, exchanging correspondence, hearing minor grievances from those who depend on his patronage. Classical motifs adapted to Christian taste. Their footsteps are deliberate. Their eyes are trained to notice everything and nothing. The owner of the house is at ease, the fabric dyed in deep blue or wine red, edged with embroidered bands known as clavy. Readings, small audiences, ritual meals, and religious duties. Cushions. A harp stands in the corner, though music is only played on formal occasions, and a low table for wine and preserved fruit. He wears a finely woven tunic. His belt is soft leather. He does not labor. His life is ruled by rhythm of letters. The interior of the home is cool and dim. Oil lamps flicker in polished bronze. Mosaics decorate the floors. Images of vines. There is a room for receiving guests, furnished with low couches. In the mornings, midday brings the bath, either at home or at a private neighborhood facility. The afternoon is often spent in study or religious contemplation. Many patricians are devout. The household may have its own small chapel, its own relic, its own icon handed down through generations. In the late afternoon, guests may arrive, other landowners, minor officials, or respected philosophers. Conversations flow gently. The evening draws in. Torches are lit in wall sconces. Curtains are drawn. The city beyond the gates becomes only a murmur. The patrician retires to his private chamber. The bed is simple but comfortable, layered with woven linens. He may reread a favorite passage from Scripture or a poet, or perhaps a letter from a long-dead ancestor. He may pray once more, bowing before the household icon, and then sleep, not the restless sleep of a soldier or the loud collapse of a tavern-goer, but a quiet sleep, structured, protected, expected. In this house, the empire does not roar. It sighs, and in that sigh, it sustains itself through routine, through ritual, through the slow, silent elegance of tradition. And now the lamps are dimmed. The gate to the patrician's home is closed. The alleys have quieted. The tavern hum fades to a distant echo. Even the great dome of Hagia Sophia now rests beneath a blanket of stars. We have wandered slowly and thoughtfully through the many layers of Byzantine life. We've shared a drink in a smoky tavern where laughter masked unease. We stood in the shadow of emperors, Justinian and Theodora, watching them balance dreams and disasters. We searched the walls of a sacred space, looking for lost faces. And we sat in quiet luxury, where power was not shouted, but whispered through marble halls in measured words. Byzantium was never simple. It was not always kind, but it endured, and it whispered, and it shimmered quietly in the dark. And though its mosaics have crumbled, though its voices are faint, its rhythm still echoes. It echoes in the flicker of a lantern, in the curve of an arch, in the quiet repetition of daily life, then and now, as you lie there, in warmth, in stillness. You carry that rhythm with you. You are not on guard tonight. You are not navigating back streets. You are not offering counsel to emperors. You are here, and the only task before you is to rest. So let the sounds of Constantinople fade completely now. Let the stone walls dissolve. Let the flickering lamplight go dark. Let your breath slow, soft, and steady, and drift gently into sleep. Good night.